Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Witch Talk. I'm your host, Audrey, of course, and today's subject is going to be myths about witches and witchcraft, which is actually really cool and really personal to my heart since, I am one. So, thank you for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in at, whether it's online with YouTube, on our Facebook page, or even on your podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Welcome to the bigger and better Witch Talk. It's really cool to have the new equipment in the studio, really working on giving you guys a better quality experience. So, yay! So let's get down to it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get down to myths of witchcraft. And this is what absolutely baffles my mind. So normally if you're a witch, you have people come to you and ask you questions, and they're like, oh, can you do a spell for me? Or did you curse me? Or just typical things that I want to debunk right now, because a lot of the propaganda that you get about witchcraft from the media or from other religions are absolute, well, to be frank, bullshit. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the myths. So the first myth that's up is witches aren't real. Okay, witches are basically, I'm going to boil it down this way. Witches are basically energy workers. They work with spiritual energy to make real physical things happen. So what they do, and I think of it like this. For example, if you have a rock slide and you pour water on the rock slide, somehow, some way, the water is always going to reach the bottom. That's exactly what magic is. You never know how it's going to get to the bottom, but you know it's going to happen. And magic happens in many different ways, and it goes through so many different channels. And witches are basically just spiritual energy sensitive that make things real on the physical realm. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about magic, is that it comes in embracing you in such a different way, and everyone feels it somehow. Whether they feel at peace when they hear rain tapping on your roof, or when you see somebody or you enter something and you feel at peace about it, or you look at someone or you see something and it gives you this eerie feeling. That's your intuition. That's magic. That's your third eye. So that's one of the things that I absolutely find fascinating to me personally when it comes to witchcraft. Now the second, and by the way, just for anyone to know, most likely anyone can become a witch. Some people are more naturally talented when it comes to witchcraft. I was more naturally attuned to spiritual energies when I was young. But as I got older, especially puberty, it really started to hit. But if you're more of a physical realm person, it's not going to come as easy to you, and it's going to take a lot of practice than others. But most of the times, if you're a physical world person, you believe in working hard, and you work hard for everything you got. So, good luck to you. Alright. So, second myth, witches are evil. For the love of the triple goddess. No. Witches aren't evil. Witches are like every other human. We look like everyone else. We don't bleed purple or green. We don't have a neon sign above our head that says we're bad or we're evil or we're out to steal your children and take them to our candy house. Witches are just like everybody else. We have our own sense of morality and our own ethical codes. There are witches who practice strictly white magic, or positive magic, or good magic, which is blessings, healing magics, very love and light is what we call in the witches in the witch community. And then there are other witches who practice dark magic, just strictly dark magic, which is black magic, which is magic that is strictly to take away someone's will out of a situation and do something against what they want. Good magic is respecting someone's will. And then there are witches who practice gray magic, which is the in-between. They practice both. Most of the time, gray witches believe in balance. They believe in realigning the universe as best as they can. Like nature. Nature is about balance, and gray witches are. Frankly, I am a gray witch. I practice both. Do I lean more towards white magic? Yes, I do. I only go to extreme dark magic if the situation calls for it. Witches don't just naturally just curse everybody that cuts them off on the highway. That's not the way it works. And each witch has their own set of rules and ethics that they follow. That's one of the things I love about witchcraft. Witchcraft is there's no one way to practice. So, but we're about to get that to in a second. So the third one that we're going to debunk: witches sacrifice animals. I'm going to be honest. Whether you practice light magic, dark magic, or gray magic, you have a respect for nature and you have a respect for animals. Witches do not sacrifice animals. And this goes into religious propaganda that was put together many, many years ago during the witch hunts. Witches usually, most likely, are very friendly with animals, and most likely they have familiars. Familiars is when you have spiritual animal companions that assist you in your path as a witch. I have two. I have my cat Azrael and my dog Xerxes. And let me tell you something. The kind of connection that I have with those animals is not a connection that I can have with any human, anywhere, anytime. Just to be frankly honest. So, yeah, debunk that. Witches have a dark Bible. That's the fourth. Now, a lot of people get misconceptions about this because if you watch Charm or if you watch like any other witch movie, you're probably familiar with the term Book of Shadows or a grimoire. A grimoire and Book of Shadows are basically the same thing. So, a Book of Shadows is basically a witch's book where she writes down her spells, her correspondence, things that she's experienced in her path that she wants to pass down to the next generation of witches. Going through her experience is in a magical form, which I absolutely love. I have a Book of Shadows and I write down my spells, I write down my correspondence, I write down things that I've experienced in tarot readings, visions that I've had, connections with the goddesses that I've had, or the gods. And it's really based on the witch. The Book of Shadows is just a tool. If you have a pen, that, for example, if you have a pen, you could write a beautiful love poem with it, or you could stab someone in the neck with it. It can go either way. It just depends how the tool is used. So, yeah, it's pretty much based on the witch. And Book of Shadows can come in many different ways. They can be like voice recordings, like series. They can be video recording series. They can be, written down on a tablet. They can be an actual notebook. It's according to each witch. But, yeah, the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover, completely true. So, the next one is all witches are women. And this is one of the biggest myths that really get on my nerves. Completely and utterly. Because guess what? Witches can be anybody. Of any gender. Non-binary. Trans. Male. Female. I mean, really, it can be anybody. And that's one of the things I love about witchcraft. Witchcraft, as a community in general, is very open. It is very welcoming. It is very loving and kind. And it truly is one of the most welcoming communities that I've ever been a part of. And the only other community that has ever been this open and this welcoming has been the kink community, the BDSM community. And it really is quite an amazing and incredible community when it comes to this. And we accept all genders, all types of people from different walks of path. You can be rich, poor, white, black, Asian, any race, any sexuality, any species, basically. We're a very open group, and we are a very welcoming group. So that's one of the things I love about witchcraft. So, you need a lot of experience and a lot of training before casting your first spell. Magic can be as easy as putting your intent into something and getting your gas to go as far as it possibly can. It can be in any way, any form. If you ever thought too hard about something and it happened, that's called manifestation. That's a spell within itself. So you don't need tons of experience to practice magic. But I am going to make a recommendation. There are some magics that if you're not experienced, or even read on, if you haven't asked advice on, or anything along those lines, there is some magic that you don't need to stick your nose in. Not yet. Like necromancy, blood magic, sex magic to an extent. Those are magics that I wouldn't touch if you were brand new on the broomstick. Those are magics that I would really get advice on. I would really study on and know the repercussions of what can happen. I didn't touch any of those 3 magics until the past 2-3 years, and I've been practicing for over a decade. So that's something that I highly recommend. And the best way to know, and the best way if you really want to be sure, is read. I mean, a lot of witches listen to podcasts and things along those lines, which I do highly encourage because you're getting a mentorship from other witches. But read. Read everything. Research everything. And that's one of the reasons why I like to recommend books on my podcast, so you know. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, or working with spirits in general, and leave the fae alone, those are things I would really recommend. But everything else, you're pretty good to go on. The 3 times 3 rule is really based on your personal belief. I'm not Wiccan, and I'm not a love and light person, so I don't think it doesn't apply to me. But if you believe in it, then it does apply to you, and that's on your beliefs. So it's all kind of tailor-made to you. So, the next one. There is no one way to practice. You know, in Christianity, it's like the only way you can get to heaven is you confess Christ as your Savior, and you get baptized, and you name your first child after a saint, you get into heaven. Well, witchcraft is not like that. Witches, especially eclectic witches, or green witches, or any type of witches, we all have our own base relief that's revealed to us by whatever gods, goddesses, or spirits that we call upon. Or even if we don't even call on specific gods or goddesses, spirits, there are the universe and the nature that we call upon that gives us. Hi, say hi to Azrael. She decided to come photobomb us. She keeps playing with my hand. And there is no one way to practice. And no one's practice is going to be exactly alike. Love you. No one practice is going to be exactly alike. So that's something you have to realize too, is that you might believe and practice one thing, but someone else practices something completely different. Like there are people that practice, that worship chaos gods, that feed on chaos. There are witches who there are Christian witches. There are Luciferian Christians. There are not Christians, witches, my bad. Witches. There are witches that are Lutheran Christians, witches. There are witches that worship the Norse pantheon or the Roman or Greek pantheon. There are witches who don't worship anything at all. there are witches that are Native American. So you can go down the line. Witchcraft is not tied to any one religion. Witchcraft is a spiritual calling. It is not attached to any religion, so you can actually bring it in to anything. Like, I don't have a specific religion. I practice the craft. And the craft is my spiritual path. And there are different gods and goddesses across different pantheons that I worship, I call upon, and they're my patron or patronesses. And don't worry, we'll be going over, like, how to choose a patron or a patroness in my Witch Talk 101 podcast. So, don't worry, it's coming. Alright, so the final one that I absolutely hate with everything in me, that I just wish that I could wipe this one thought from humanity for the rest of my life and beyond, is this one. Witches worship Satan. Witches do not worship Satan. Witches do not have affiliation with the devil at all. There are most witches who don't even believe in hell. There are some witches who don't even believe Satan exists. They believe completely and fully that there is good and evil in everybody. And they can be their own personal devil. So it's not any one entity out there just to see you fail and laugh. And that was something that there's another segment that I want to get into about Christian propaganda and witchcraft. And this goes back to when, in the patriarchal oppression of women, going back hundreds of years, when women were healers and were wise women and were well respected within the community, or they were financially independent, or they went against social constructs that were forced upon women. And they were tied to the word witch and the devil. Witch had a lot of really positive aspects in it until that happened. And then people got really weary of it, and they're like, oh, is there healing of the devil? Is it the devil's work? No, it's just common herbology. Like, if you drink lavender tea, you're going to naturally calm, because that's the scientific result for lavender. When you drink it, you're going to be, and that's something that has been in the mind of everything since the beginning of time, like, since Christians started on the witch hunts. And it was even, that witch wasn't even in the Bible. It was actually supposed to be poisoner or deceitful one. So, and that was translated back 100 years ago to be replaced as witch. Or a couple hundred years ago, replaced back as witch. So, ta-da. So I hope if you are a witch, you leave comments, concerns, things along those lines. Other misconceptions that you personally experienced when it comes to being a witch. Or if you're not a witch and I was able to enlighten you and to help when it came to your understanding of witchcraft, by all means. By all means, ask a witch. I might just do that one day where I just open my chat rooms and let you ask a witch. So, and if y'all are down for that, leave comments under this. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. Thank you for being with me as I get to play with all my new tech. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, hit the follow button if you're on Instagram, and heart it if you like this episode. Go ahead and like and follow this if you're on Facebook. Don't forget to look up the blogs. We've recently dropped some new articles in the past couple of weeks. So go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to Witch Talk. We love you guys so freaking much. And we cannot wait to see you again. So merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.